everyone, my name is Prism, and welcome back to Reviewing the Classics, the series where I'm going through every single Walt Disney Animation Studios theatrically released feature film, going through the entire animated classics canon based on the United States classic canon. If you go to the UK, it's a little bit different. But no, I will be going through every single Disney animated feature film, for the most part, reviewing all of them, giving my thoughts after recently rewatching them. Now, the series is meant to be weekly, but I actually have kind of missed a couple of weeks. I just haven't had the time to record it, or even when I have, I've been doing other things. But I'm going to try and get back into it, and today we're going to be reviewing what some consider Walt Disney's masterpiece, Fantasia.
Walt Disney Pictures presents the 50th anniversary of an all-time animated masterpiece, Fantasia. It's a motion picture you will never forget, now with a completely restored picture and soundtrack. It's the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney's classic, Fantasia, a symphony in sight and sound.
Now, when it comes to Fantasia, I do definitely think it is a one-of-a-kind film. It is the pinnacle example of what would not be made in Hollywood today. If this film were to ever be made nowadays, it would be on Disney+. But this right here is a theatrically released concert feature. And it's ironic that I call it that because I got the exact name from the documentary, The Concert Feature on the Making of Fantasia. But Fantasia, like I said, is a one-of-a-kind Disney film. All of the Golden Age Disney films, no matter how great or how bad they are, or rather 90% of the animated classics canon, are narrative features, where you start with the set of characters and you see them go on a journey, and eventually you have your climax and then you have your conclusion. Fantasia is a film with multiple introductions and climaxes and a grand bang of a conclusion. Fantasia is a one-of-a-kind film. Now, there is Fantasia 2000, so I guess it's a two-of-a-kind film. And the way I want to do this review is just kind of talking about Fantasia, some of the segments that stick out. A lot of this will probably be done in post, so I'll probably record some here, and I'll probably do some by the computer where I can actually pull up images. This is kind of going to be a little bit of a messier review, but it's going to all be fit together with the power of video editing. So, to get into it, let's start off with the great things about Fantasia. Actually, before we start with the great things about Fantasia, maybe it's important that I tell you what Fantasia is. It is literally a concert feature. It is Disney animators putting animation to classical music pieces. And this started with the Sorcerer's Apprentice piece, and then it devolved into something way larger. Way larger. It went from one, I think, 10-minute short to a 2-hour-long feature film, where you have all these different sorts that are all just kind of experimenting with what they can do narratively and visually. You even literally have the soundtrack, and it's just a little piece of music that moves in relation to the sound of the music. This film is wild, and it's not one of those wild films where you're completely lost. I think Fantasia does a very good job of explaining what it's doing. And I think that's in part because they have a spokesperson coming out and basically saying, this is the feature you're about to see. This was the mindset behind it. So for example, there's one on the prehistoric dinosaurs, and they basically explain that this is about the creation of Earth. And you kind of start with the volcanoes, you start with the dinosaurs, you show some violence, and eventually you end at the Ice Age. I don't think they actually end there, but you get the idea. They explain what these features are going to be so that you're not just watching it being completely confused. And I do think that Fantasia actually has a lot of really strong segments. The animation for all of them is beautiful. They do a really good job keeping the animation quality. You have to remember, this was Walt Disney's third feature film, but first feature film that was entirely short based. There were a lot more of these during the wartime era, but this was really the first one of its kind, and it was going to be a big deal. They were going to update it every couple of years with entirely new segments, remove old ones, add new ones. They had big plans for this. And I think Fantasia on its own does a really good job of being a concert feature. Because while there are some boring segments and while there are some boring moments, a lot of the shorts are at a good enough runtime length that you can either just have a really good story or look at really beautiful animation. I think most notably would probably be the dinosaurs one, but there's also a lot of other ones that I want to mention here. So, in Fantasia, there's a total of 8 shorts that build up the feature, but I only want to mention around 5 or 6 of them here. Some of the ones that really stuck out to me, of course, Toccata and Few in D minor, which is literally just a short about putting whatever animation they can come up with that fits the musical piece. That's kind of the first part of Fantasia, is about the music and just showing animation to music. And later on, they try and actually build a narrative on that music. But getting into those, you have Pastoral Symphonies, which tells a story of these centaurs and female centaurs. I forget their actual name. But it's basically these creatures and these magical fairies all living in this very bright fantasy land. You have unicorns, you have rainbows, you have Zeus. It's a very fantastical sort, and I would love to see a feature film in this style. It's just beautiful to look at. I admit that the short gets a little bit long. It's a little bit boring after a while, just kind of seeing how long we're actually going to be doing this for. But it's still one of my favorite segments because it's so beautiful. It just has so many bright colors. It has so many fantastical creatures. I mean, this is one that really sticks out to me as well. Another one, too, is also like Rite of Spring, which literally, in the simplest sense, is meant to be their interpretation for the history of the Earth. You have the volcanoes, you have the dinosaurs. There's, like, too much to really cover in it. It's just literally basically a National Geographic animated segment about dinosaurs. That is the whole thing. And it's really well done. It's really well done because all of it had to be done through music and animation. You couldn't have any dialogue. So they had to make these characters emote. They had to make the music be the right tone for the right moment. It's a really good segment as well. And of course, I have to mention The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And The Sorcerer's Apprentice really is just kind of the pinnacle of all of this. Of course, there's 2 shorts that really stand out above all of them. But this is why Fantasia exists, right? It wouldn't exist without The Sorcerer's Apprentice. As Walt said, it all started with a mouse. That's what he meant in relation to the Disney company, but that's also very true for Fantasia. It all started with him trying to bring Mickey Mouse back into popularity. So, of course, it started with a mouse in the production of Fantasia. And, of course, you have the grand finale of Night on Bald Mountain and Ave Maria. Now, Ave Maria and Night on Bald Mountain could not be any more different. One is the dark hell, basically. It's literally a demon and all these, ghosts and ghouls and all these creatures coming and having a celebration at the dark of night. It's basically pure evil. It's pure evil if Walt Disney did it. But of course, like any other good Walt Disney feature that puts in evil, you have the light of hope. Break of Dawn and Ave Maria that comes with it. Now, it's interesting because apparently the Ave Maria piece was going to be a lot more religious. They were literally going to have some very, very religious imagery, but they actually cut it back. But the result of it is still a very uplifting piece. While they don't go full religion on it, they do still use a piece that has a lot of religious subtext, and they also, end it with the Break of Dawn to kind of show that the devil and his, minions are the darkness and they're the worst of the world. But this light of hope in Ave Maria, the light of dawn, the beauty of a new sunrise, puts away the darkness. And, obviously, I'm a Christian, so I don't believe in Ave Maria. That is obviously a different belief. But I do still sense the good versus evil, and I can appreciate what they were trying to do. I can appreciate that they're showing evil, they're showing what it is, they're showing this is a very dark thing, and then they're showing you, but wait, here is the light. Here is literally this devil figure being basically broken down by these church spells. And it's just a very beautiful piece. It's a grand finale to the film. That's what it is. And I really like that they kind of put them together. They don't state them as their own features, they state them as a passion piece, or not a passion piece, a companion to one another. But that's my thoughts on Fantasia. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed putting this together. I think Fantasia, is a great film. I originally gave it a pretty low rating. I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10. But I honestly would kind of move it up now that I understand it a little bit more after watching the concert feature documentary. I think it's a really special film, and I'm really glad that we have it in the Disney canon. There will be attempts to recreate it, and we'll talk about those in a very short time. But for now, my name's been Prism. I hope you all enjoyed, and goodbye for now.